And welcome back to Patriotic Art Live. We have a really, really neat show for you guys today, getting into some more Norse mythology that has sort of laid the foundation for lots of other stories in European history. So this has got some interesting morals to the story. Um, it's just a really exciting show today. So let me say hello to my buddy Patriarch. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you, Donald? Yes, looking forward to this. Looking forward to this episode.
Yeah, this
Because
is
it's we get a chance to do a lot of fantasy art, and
which
yeah,
we love,
so
right?
I've been developing a bit
Indeed.
of a style these past few weeks, kind of drawing
Hmm.
and painterly and just experimenting, and I get to
Yeah.
actually do some real cool sort of fantasy based illustration.
Mm.
Well, fantasy, I guess it's our Norse mythology, isn't it? It's probably rooted in some epic sagas that have been
Yeah. Yeah.
adapted over time and whatnot and retold and
Hmm.
but yeah, so
Right. One has to wonder what the actual historic story was in a lot of these cases with these mythologies. Um,
yeah.
in the research that I did, by the way, the story is Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. So I came to find out that he's called Siegfried in England. So if people are familiar with that, it would be Siegfried the Dragon Slayer. But anyway, we've got some interesting background info on that. Shall I kick it off with
Sure,
some
let's
background
read
info?
the topic notes.
Okay. So Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is a central figure in Norse mythology and medieval Scandinavian literature, most famously depicted in the Volsunga Saga and the Poetic Edda. He is renowned for his heroic feat of killing the dragon Fafnir to acquire the cursed treasure the dragon guarded. Raised by the dwarf Regan, who seeks to use Sigurd to claim, or rather reclaim the treasure, Sigurd is eventually betrayed by those he trusts. His legend involves themes of bravery, fate, and betrayal, and it significantly influenced later European literature and art, serving as a cornerstone of Norse epic narratives.
Mm,
Wow, it's a big one.
it is, and in some ways, an unsung hero for many. Well, I can't imagine too many people know about this saga unless you're a diehard sort of
Right.
kind of Norse follower, which often I think a lot of Norse culture gets overlooked by a lot of the Roman and Greco culture. I know at least
That's a good point.
I've focused a lot
Yeah.
on that myself. So I'm actually quite
Hmm.
glad to be able to delve into this a little bit more. On my screen here, I
Cool.
know you don't think you can see, but I've just got a few
Hmm.
images that I'm going to use to influence my drawings. I'm going to probably do a few sketches and then
Hmm.
yeah, see where they develop. I want to do more of a keyframe. Have you done many keyframes before?
No, I used to use Photoshop quite a lot, but it's been a really long time. Almost everything I do now is just organic. It's just analog. Like
Okay,
using a pencil or a brush, and I'll use Photoshop mostly for brush up work.
cool.
Cleaning up mistakes or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to do more of like what you do, and there's so many great artists in our sphere. You of course you know about Wave Guy, Skinless Frank.
Mhm.
There's just like a bunch of our guys out there that do incredible Flash Gorgon, that do incredible digital artwork. So I'm jealous of them, but it's like you can't do everything.
No, I mean
You
in
gotta.
some ways, being very well averse in sort of traditional drawing is kind of
Hmm.
is probably you know uh, a bit more valuable these days, especially as everything's moving towards digital and especially with AI. I mean, I think it will become more
Oh gosh,
valuable,
yeah.
traditional art. So let's just start with the beginning of the story. It's a very brief
Hmm.
overview here, but we've got some notes, and let's kick it off before I start my drawing. So the tale
Okay.
of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer begins with his upbringing under the care of Regan, a crafty dwarf with a hidden agenda. Sigurd, born a prince and the son of Sigmund, is foretold to be a great hero. Regan, seeking to use Sigurd for his own ends, tells him of Fafnir, a dragon who guards a cursed treasure. Motivated by adventure and the promise of glory, Sigurd agrees to slay the dragon, not fully understanding the depth of deceit and the curse that lies on the treasure. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. So I did a bit of research on this before the show myself, and it's very interesting because the theme of greed is very strong in here. There's a lot of lessons and themes and morals, if you will,
mhm,
parables in this story, so it's quite loaded. But I just find this topic of greed specifically interesting. Um, that so the gold is cursed, and I just think in some ways there's a lot of symbolism and meaning to that people can apply to life today in some way.
yeah,
um, yeah, the gold originally belonged to a certain family, and then Loki. It's a pretty long story, but the way that there was a murder involved, and so the family cursed the gold, and then whoever takes the gold from then on shall die. It's from the
mhm,
curse.
yeah,
And so it's just kind of interesting how throughout the story there's all these people that are scheming to get the gold, but then in the end the gold gets them. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like some stories we've seen a lot of times in films, but obviously this probably influenced a lot of
Oh
those
yeah, I
narratives.
mean, that's pretty much what the whole theme is here, is how this is probably the oldest and maybe the original Dragon Slayer story that has kind of found its way throughout history, and Northern Europeans especially. I don't think there's any Southern Europeans that have stories about dragons. Would you? I don't know. Are you aware of any? Like from
Um,
Italy or Spain or anything like that?
Dragons. No, not
No, I can't.
really. It's
Yeah,
mostly
I
through
think
sort
it's
of Germanic and Scandinavian
yeah,
folklore,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
That's what it appears to
Sorry,
be.
sorry. Obviously, we have what's his name? Who's um,
I'll never forget what's his name.
I forget it. He's probably one of the most Saint George and his dragon.
Oh,
Yeah,
St. John. Well, yeah, which of course is English, right?
yeah. And
And we
but
did a
but
show on him.
he's more Greek, sort of from them areas. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
it's an English
Okay.
legend, but he is he's not typically from um
Ah, okay. All right, that's curious. I had no idea that. It. I mean, in a sense, that just sort of shows how our how in a sense we're all in the same narrative, that we're all Europeans. That we all have like common roots, I suppose, what I might say here. Yeah.
yeah.
So let me read a little bit. I'll talk about a couple points here about the influence on European culture. Um, Literary influence. Sigurd's story, particularly as told in
Hello.
is, I think, one of the central aspects of life that I find very interesting. How one, how one sees themselves in a certain way and has, as they say, agency, maybe skills, talent, born into a certain family, what have you. And then how fate somehow throws a curveball in there, and this is real life. It's like everybody to some extent can kind of identify with that. We often wonder, like, why is this happening to me, or why, whatever the events are in our life. And it's maybe mysterious. I think, in the East, they would say it's your karma or something. Just an interesting theme there, and it's timeless.
Yeah, your mic just cut out for a good
Oh,
chunk of
I
that.
was getting a phone call in, and it did it interrupt all that? Or what?
A chunk of it, yeah. So
Should I read it
maybe
again?
no, for me I'm fine. Just to if you wanted me to chat about what you said about
Yeah, if you could, that would be good.
So which point was it? The literary influence?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Literary influence, as told by the Volsunga Saga and the Poetic Edda, has significantly influenced European literature, poets and playwrights and novelists from the medieval time to now. This tale is a precursor to many modern fantasy themes, emphasizing heroism, adventure, and the interplay of fate and personal agency.
Yeah, so yeah, what was the point you made though about obviously situations in life and that?
Right. I'm particularly fascinated with or interested in how man, how do I say this? Like how we interact with our own fate. We find ourselves in various situations, where one day we're up and the next day we're down. You have friends and family that you love and trust, and then they betray you or they hurt you in some way. And there's just so much of this type of kind of Shakespearean drama that we experience in life. And this has been going on for ages, for millennia. It's back into our mythology. So I suppose there's a side of human tragedy there that we hopefully can learn from. There's things that happen that are tragic in some way or other. What we're doing right now reminds me a lot of the movie The Northman, which is one of my favorite films. I forget the German actor that's in it, but I'm really like a huge fan of that film. And that particular film, it deals very exclusively, I don't want to say exclusively, but the core theme of it is this, the fate of this particular prince who lost his kingdom. Father was killed, mother was abducted, and by his uncle, and like, the thing that, like, that's an insight in the family, these, and then how throughout the boys, the boy grows up to be a man, and he's just totally driven by this revenge. This, like, his whole existence is developed towards, gaining revenge and taking back his kingdom, saving his mother from this whatever, the slavery or
your mic is I don't know if people are going to be picking up on this interference, but it's not so legible really.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix that. So.
Is anyone else feeling that? No, I don't.
Yeah, from my end, you're coming through real crunchy. Like, it's not really coming
strange.
Through very smoothly. Yeah, I guess it's the YouTube gremlins again.
Yeah, they've been onto us, haven't they? I got a strike recently. I have no idea. Like, they'll just pick you up on anything. Literally, what could I have said or done? Yeah, literally haven't referenced any specific people whatsoever.
So I'm gonna check my chat here and see if you guys are able to hear what we're saying and how good or bad the audio is coming through here. If anyone in the chat wants to give me a shout out and let me know how the audio is coming through.
Just sketching out some compositions. Yeah, I can hear my reverb as well. I have no idea what's going on there.
Well, yeah, it's still crunchy on my end. I don't know.
Are you able to turn on like flight mode or something? If it is calls that you get. Maybe next time, just try.
It's really hard to hear you, man. I'm sorry. It's really hard to understand what you're saying on my end. I know you're talking, but it's just buzzy. I'm going to turn on my computer and turn the volume on my computer and see how it sounds from this end.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and talk a little bit. Maybe read one of the next points.
Okay, so on the points of influence of European culture, Richard Wagner's operas. Perhaps the most notable influence of Sigurd's legend is on Richard Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen, a cycle of 4 epic operas. Wagner's adaptation, which transforms Sigurd into Siegfried, has played a crucial role in popularizing Norse myths and the figure of the dragon-slaying hero across the world. So a dragon-slaying hero. It'd be interesting to kind of find out when this mythology was, and maybe if it helped influence my memory is going terrible today. Our own tales.
So if I can interrupt, the problem's on my end. You're coming through fine on your end, but I don't know why it's not working on my end. You might end up taking over the audio for the show.
Yeah. Okay, well, I suggest maybe next time you should try and just disable, put flight mode on so you can't get incoming calls. It's obviously start to interfere with the audio, and it's probably bugged out or something.
It's hard to tell. I mean, it's really no different from other shows that I've done, so I can't tell honestly why it's not working this time. Yeah, I do a lot of shows as well.
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's our unique setup. I'm not really the best at drawing dragons, but try.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn the sound off on my phone, but I'll turn the sound on my laptop so I can hear what you're saying.
Okay.
All right. A lot of people try to call me while we're on the show. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I think it might be likely.
It's funny how there's always
Oh,
an
it's perfect
evil
now. It's
elf
back.
or troll.
Your audio's back. It's good.
My audio's back?
Well, it was. Yeah, it started. And then it's just gone again.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll come in and out. I don't know. But
who knows? Hopefully it'll figure itself out.
Yeah. All right. I'll just try, and if it's really bad, just tell me it's really bad, and I'll shut up.
No worries. Let Z know.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is that it's funny how there's always some kind of evil troll, elf type character that is sort of behind a lot of these dramas.
Yeah, very true.
I kind of, yeah.
Well, I think these stories are... Carry on, sorry.
Go ahead.
I
was just saying I equate that with a certain tribe.
Yeah, I think we in the past we've told these stories to be mindful of peoples and things in society that are problematic and things that we need to be careful of, even like vampires, for example. I'm sure there's some connection there to real life lessons,
Yeah. I guess it's maybe I'm naive or something, but it's just there's that message that you always kind of have to watch out for thieves and liars, that there's always that presence or that potentiality of people taking advantage of your trust, and for me personally, it's betrayal within the family is the worst kind. I feel like it's family. You get the general idea of what I'm saying here. So
yeah, it must be tough, man. I know it's it's I've not really experienced too much betrayal amongst family. We've had disagreements, but I can imagine
it's good that you haven't.
Yeah. I can imagine it being hard to deal with, though.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think trying to come up with a decent composition. I'm hiding his face a bit too much though. Needs to be a bit more visible.
It's nice that you can zoom in and out with, on a computer. It just seems to add more control. Yeah.
It can be good. Yeah, sometimes. When you shouldn't be putting details in, like now.
Mm-hmm.
It can be tempting. Like I should be focusing more on the overall shape, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've been looking at the work I've been doing on this show and just trying to think, how can I improve? Like what would be a better approach?
Yeah.
I think my strength is more with these kind of monochromatic images. The color I would like, when I add color, I want it to be much bolder. You know what I'm saying? But the format of the show is fairly short. You can't. It's really hard to do completely finished pieces when you only have so much time to do it. And
no, I know what you're saying. I think that's the problem with traditional art. Obviously, I can make mistake after mistake and like Control Z.
Right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this fella here so people can get a look at our evil little greedy little elf man. Reagan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's Reagan right there.
I haven't drawn Reagan yet, but I will be.
There's a movie called Legend. I think it's a Ridley Scott film, actually. It's got Tom Cruise in it when he was young.
Yeah.
And there's some great sort of like goblins and elves and creatures and things in it. It's one of my favorite films. Anyway, this guy kind of reminds me of one of the characters. I think it probably is just like channeling through me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty common thing, I guess, is just, movie influences or what have you. They sort of come through in your art,
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Frank Frazetta, he really got me inspired to kind of pursue art again. And I think I mentioned I was trying to get into concept art for a while. But life sometimes takes twists and plans don't always come through.
Life sometimes takes twists. That is well said. Well said indeed. I think the audio seems to have worked itself out a bit.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back and read some more of those points then.
Go for it.
So Richard Wagner's operas.
I read that bit, but you can carry on. I think I did that one.
Sorry. See, the audio was that bad that I didn't hear that. So the next point on this topic, art and symbolism. The imagery of Sigurd slaying the dragon Fafnir has been a popular motif in European art, especially during the Romantic period. This imagery symbolizes the triumph of good over evil and has been used in various cultural and historical contexts to represent courage and valor. So I think that's very true. Like you can certainly, I don't know, there's just so much kind of mythology packed into this. The idea of the slaying the dragon, I think a lot of us envision the image of course, St. George, but sort of saving the maiden, you know what I mean? And then in a sense, it's like a precursor to the whole concept of like battling your own inner demons. You know what I mean? Like you're slaying the dragons within yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm doing a lot of that these days. So I can. I think this is where mythology comes in a way to guide us and strengthen us. That I want to be Sigurd, or I want to be the hero of my own story. I want to be proud of myself. I want to overcome my challenges and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So doing the art like this is actually right now in my life. In fact, it's actually quite awesome. It's hitting the spot. Like, yeah, this is exactly what I need to be doing right now.
Yeah, it's a wonder why we haven't really done as much Norse mythology, isn't it? Because there's, I mean, even for example, the Anglo-Saxons that migrated over to the UK. I remember doing many podcasts with Sven, and there was a certain there were many sagas and tales. Although the Anglo-Saxons weren't so literate, they had a lot of folklore and stories that they told and passed on and recited. I think I think that's the case, if I remember rightly. But even the likes of King Alfred, if there's anyone in the chat that knows, there's a certain set of books of saga. I think it's the Anglo-Saxon, distinctly from the Anglo-Saxons, but they retained a lot of this Norse because they're obviously from the Danes.
Okay.
And they influenced even the likes of Alfred the Great, who was, I mean, the Norse, Danish mythologies and stories became, part of the culture and expanding kind of tropes and mythology of England, Britain, and that, and yeah, I think they inspired a lot of kings, even.
I'm sort of wondering how bloody I should make this heart. He's cutting the heart right out of the dragon, and how gory
That's
do
a
I want
beating
this to
heart.
be? Yeah,
Look at that nose.
That's a big chunk of
That
meat
is an
right
amazing nose. I love it.
Oh, the little guy there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. What happened? Why is his nose so long? It's even got a funny cap on. How about that? So, I guess I'll read another one then. National identity. Very interesting. In Scandinavian countries, the saga of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is deeply woven into the fabric of national identity. It has been used to foster a sense of pride and unity, emphasizing the valor, bravery, and moral fortitude that are seen as characteristics of the Norse people. So there you go. I mean, the arts are significant in carrying on through the centuries who a people are,
Yeah.
and
Right,
so
exactly.
the arts and mythology go hand in hand,
I often always thought there was a connection between the sort of the Greco tales of and a lot of the Nordic tales as well. They seem similar, and there seems to be an influence there, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean,
I'm interested in learning more about Greco-Roman mythology. I mean, I'm not like Greek or Italian, so I kind of have, I guess, less sort of interest or motivation to kind of find out or whatever. But I think it's essential to the whole white identity movement. I'm friends with a guy many of you may know, Mark Brahman. We did a comic book together some time ago called The Seraph, and he has his site, theapolloniantransmission.com, which you guys can check out. He has a lot of controversial theories on art and religion, and the certain tribe that has made our extinction their religious goal. And so he's a really important thinker in our movement. And from his perspective, I think that reviving Apollo and the sort of Greco-Roman gods is a really, really important project. So I think there's a lot of people, it seems to me anyway, that there's a lot of people that are interested in and or practicing Odinism or Asatru, but yet, do you know anybody that's practicing any form of Greco-Roman cults or religion? And of course I know it's not, I'm not discussing that versus Christianity, but just in terms of as a kind of a cultural practice that we've lost in time. It seems to me
Really? I know, well, I saw an article not so long ago that people and I think we discussed it here, that a lot of the Greeks are kind of...
Oh, that's right. That's true. They created some kind of they're reviving some aspect of their ancient religious culture. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes.
I think it's all
I
part
might have
of
mentioned
seeking. I think it's all part of people. People wanted to revive some of their identity, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah. This is how I look at it. Yeah, that's how I look at it. Yeah.
And when you look at Judeo-Christianity at the moment, it's just absolutely weak.
That's become a big topic for me recently as well. I'm kind of having a resurgence of interest in Christianity. You and I have talked about this offline, due to a friend of mine that brought something to my attention that I believe is called Aryan Israelites. And so I just asked her if she would maybe want to do a show with you and I on that topic, since she's very, very educated on it. This is a close friend of mine. She's the one who taught me about it in the first place. So it's just become quite an interesting thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I think I'm gonna do a close-up one. Nice portrait.
So what's your idea for your composition?
First one's very sketchy. More of a landscape open shot of him taking on the dragon. Second one, he is kind of mid-action, sticking it to the dragon into the skull. Third one, I'm not too sure. I was gonna do a close-up. I really love this. You can't see on my screen, but there's an awesome illustration here. I think I've seen this. I think I recognize that comic guy, that comic artist style. It's very good. I'd love to be able to draw like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just putting the time in, because a lot of I was of course researching this before the show, and there's so many beautiful, just stunning, amazing illustrations and paintings, etc., on this theme. And you look at it again and you're like, okay, that would take quite a long time to produce a picture like that. But
I think I think it's time and learning the fundamentals, but also developing your own style as well. Like developing a style of how you draw your lines, and I think that's often something which helps to makes you kind of distinguished from others. And
I have a theory that every artist there has this kind of a style that is the analogy is that it's like their handwriting. So when you sign a check or you sign something, you have a signature that is just the way you it's like an organic biological way that you sign your name, you know, and it just comes natural to you.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's kind of the same thing in art as well, that the way that we draw, the kind of lines that we form, etc., that's just an organic way that we understand the tools and we move the tools around, you know. So like I can sort of fake somebody else's style, you know, I could do that, but why, you know? Like, why would I want to do that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So my point I'm trying to make is that I think we all have to just accept kind of like who we are. Like, this is how I draw, this is how I paint, this is my style, you know. And you can improve it, you know. Certainly there's always room for improvement, right? But
you can always use people that you like to influence, but you'll never be them.
So that's the thing that I'm trying to say here. So like I do live comic book streams, comic book art streams, like maybe 4 or 5 nights a week. And I got a buddy who is trying to learn that, and he's asking me about, you know, who do you recommend that I look up, etc. And I'm saying, oh, check out this person and that person and blah blah blah, and it's a lot of fun. But in the end, I'm thinking to myself, you know, like, I've been looking at those people for years, and my art doesn't look anything like theirs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's devices you can steal. There's, you know, you can still enjoy their work. You can try to copy some elements of it, and that's okay. You know, you can't create the wheel, so to speak. But all I guess I'm saying is that don't really be ashamed of whoever you are, and like embrace whatever your style is.
Oh no, I'm not. It's just you
try
can't
to
help but
be the best.
looking at other people's work and appreciating it now.
Yeah. It's a thing that it's kind of non-artists don't know, is how artists are almost never satisfied with their work.
True.
Because it's never going to be Frank Frazetta, you know. It's you know what I mean. So you somehow kind of have to like embrace that and let it go, you know.
Yeah, but like you say, it is a matter of just practicing, isn't it, and developing developing your style. And
yeah, I'm really pleased that I do a lot of freelance work, and then I've got this, we've got the show, and staying active in the arts is critical. I mean, it's like, you know, sports or music or martial arts. You have to keep doing it and stay on top of your skills and stuff. So like, spring is coming, and I'm going to be getting back into sparring.
Awesome.
So I'm you know, getting back into working out and trying to learn some new martial arts techniques, etc. You know, so I don't get my ass kicked, you know.
Nice. Let's read a few more. Where did we get to? Art and symbolism.
We read that.
Yeah. National identity.
Yeah.
Okay, so mythology and folklore studies. Sigurd's story is a key subject of study in the fields of mythology, folklore, and medieval studies. It provides insight into the beliefs, values, and societal norms of the Norse people, and has influenced the academic understanding of mythic storytelling techniques, including the use of symbols, motifs, and archetypes. Interesting.
While you were reading that, someone just like texted me, and then immediately my phone started going.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Again.
I think next time, maybe just as a safe precaution, put your what do you call it, air flight mode on or something. Unless you need to take
if
a call.
I do that though, no, well, my understanding is that'll cut off my internet.
No, it's just phone calls, I think. I believe it's.
Is that so? Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. See how smart you are? That's awesome, dude. That's why I hang out with you, man.
Cheers. Glad I'm good for something.
You know. You're the brains and I'm the beauty. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have like a really strong desire to learn more about Norse mythology, and I don't know that I'm trying to practice a religion or something, but rather to have the kind of spiritual esoteric connection to it, you know, um, to at least know what our ancestors thought and felt and how they experienced reality. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I think our people were very, I don't know what the word is, like I guess more based, in a sense, modern man is very soft. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because like I
Well,
was just while I
with
was
the
watching, yeah, while I was watching the documentary, I'm looking at these Viking ships going across the ocean, and I'm just thinking like the courage it took, you know, to do this. That's just pretty
yeah,
mind blowing.
well, they were battle hardened people, weren't they? Our ancestors.
Guess that was just normal back then.
They had a lot of honor as well. There was a massive emphasis on honor, on your word. The word
Yeah,
was your bond, and
right.
there was certain things which, in many ways, they were it's more barbaric and ruthless, but in many ways they were also more moral. You know, in terms of telling lies and things like that. I mean, they
Hmm.
valued things that we don't.
So my concept with this piece is to do it in black and, well, it's just not literally black and white, but like these tones, as you can see. But then to have the gold in yellow around it, so that,
Mm,
because how I'm envisioning this is that the dragon is laying on like a gigantic pile of gold coins,
okay.
and so that I'll be like adding in yellow kind of around the background here to communicate the idea of gold, basically. Let's just fill it all in here. My camera's going to shake a lot when I do this.
I'm getting in the
But
goblin in the
the
background.
yeah, you see that guy? um, it's coming together. Anyway, I think what's nice though is when you use kind of monochromatic art, like what I have here, and then you add a color, just one color, and then it stands out very, very strongly, and it has a certain beauty to it. I think
Yes,
it's the
definitely.
element of contrast, when you can use contrast in your art effectively, it just, it makes it pop. It that's the difference between sort of art and reality, in the sense is that you choose what you're highlighting and what you're leaving out, and these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's part of art direction, isn't it?
Sure.
And I think making these choices are important in kind of the storytelling of it.
Mm-hmm. And then when you start a piece, it's always very rough, and then I think of it like sculpting in a way. It's like 2D sculpting, because you sketch out your work, and then like gradually, slowly, more and more over the course of making it, you're adding and subtracting and
Yeah.
building it up, if you will.
What shall I
There
put
it is.
here? I think I'm gonna put a couple of dragon eggs here. Or no, money. I think I'll put money. There's
So go ahead.
some gold and in a cavern.
Another thing that comes to mind when we're doing this is there's the I think it might have been the Hobbit film. It's J.R. Tolkien's. It's not Lord of the Rings, but in the Hobbit film, there's a very major aspect of the story where they have to go in and take the gold from this dragon. If you've seen it, you'd know, and cinematically, it's like mind blowing. It's just like exquisitely, beautifully done. And they go into this kind of mountain temple cave kind of thing, where all the gold is, and the dragon is actually, he's like buried in the gold. Like they don't even see him until and I don't remember the guy's name, the main character in the story.
Elijah Wood.
He's kind of, say again?
Elijah Wood or Frodo?
No, it's not Lord of the Rings. After Lord of the Rings, there was another series that came out, but I'm sorry. This happens to me all the time while I'm drawing or painting. Like my mind blanks out on.
Yeah,
on
I'm the
same.
Like I've forgotten St. George's name like twice already before. I'm like, what?
Yeah, this is what people don't understand. While we're doing these shows, we're talking, we're keeping the conversation going while we're, and you got to imagine 90% of your brain is trying to focus on this. Yeah. It's a little hard to do that, but I'm sure people in the chat will be like, "Oh, you mean this movie? Duh." How come you don't know that? Duh. That. But when you're juggling and riding a unicycle on a tight wire, it's not as easy. But anyway, so yeah, that comes to mind. It's another.
I'm playing
iteration.
Some Norse
version of this
sort of acoustical, calm Nordic instrumentals on my background. A song called Brissing Helliser. It's quite good. I think that's another thing, isn't it? When you listen to music from your ancestors of past, and it just chimes, it hits deep, doesn't it? It's like I'm not familiar with a lot of the Norse music, but whenever I listen to it, it awakens something in me. I think it's like it just resonates. Totally. And it has to be, it has to be them DNA strands inside of me just kind of like waking up a little bit and sort of chiming and a little, just vibrating a little bit harder.
Right. Those DNA strands, they're being strummed, basically.
Popping, yeah.
I listen to a good bit of Baroque guitar when I'm doing art. I find Baroque guitar specifically for me is extremely soothing, and it just stimulates my imagination somehow. There's something complex about those compositions. There's almost something mathematical that I don't know. It just stimulates my mind in some way. So it's quite interesting how that works.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I recommend try it out sometime. Put on some Baroque guitar, and the guitars are not.
I know.
Yeah,
I know the art movement, or at least architecture movement.
Sure.
I didn't realize there was a sort of a music influence. So I'm thinking what to do for my next, for my final sort of keyframe. It's a tough one. So I've done so far a present moment where he attempts to, or he's just engaged with the dragon. I've done a kind of mid shot where the dragon is being slain. I've done one just before where you don't even see the dragon, but it's more of the kind of the emotions in his eyes as he's being told to go forward, illustrating the deception. But I think I quite like this actually. I might take this to a finish, but I'll see what else I can pull out the bag. Your goblin is awesome, by the way. I love the eyes. They're just popping out there, and
Yeah.
and his little phallic nose just dangling off his face. What shall I do? Your sound's gone. If you're talking, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm back now. Am I back now? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't hear myself. Oh, there we are.
Yes, fine now.
Yeah, I got another phone call and it screwed me up.
Yeah. Next, I just try it anyway. Unless you
I'll
really
try it
need
right
to take
now.
a call. But
I'm gonna put the ear. Plane mode.
Reloading.
Are we back?
I think so.
All right, we are back. So I tried turning off airplane mode and I got completely cut out of the stream. So that's not how it works on my end.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
But I know my audio is pretty crunchy right now, though.
Strange. Yeah, it's always it's hard to know. It's like sometimes just it feels like you don't change anything, but the settings just seem to not want to work. It's hard to know. It's like sometimes just it feels like you don't change anything, but the settings just seem to not want to work. Well, let me flip this. Flip the canvas. Okay, so that looks alright. That looks pretty good with the flip. That doesn't seem too bad either. Quite like this one. Ah, that's what I can do. I can put the old little knob nose here.
Oh, okay. I lost your screen, so I had to get that back on.
No worries. Too flat there.
So let's see. I'll read another bit on the topic here. And what do we got? Influences on fantasy literature. Okay, so the Saga of Sigurd has directly and indirectly influenced the genre of fantasy literature, with elements of his story being seen in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. I had just mentioned that earlier. C.S. Lewis and many others. Themes such as the cursed treasure, the noble hero, and the dragon adversary have become staples of fantasy fiction. Bingo. I'll read another one as well. Video game and popular culture. In contemporary times, Sigurd's influence extends to video games, movies, and comic books, where his legend is reimagined and retold for new audiences. This has helped maintain the relevance of Norse mythology and its themes of heroism and adventure in modern entertainment, contributing to a continuous interest in and appreciation for ancient myths and legends of our people. It's quite good.
Yeah. Agreed on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to yeah, it's a good topic this week. Yeah. I really didn't want to like this last one because I thought I was set on which one to finalize, but I actually quite like it.
So I want to thank all my friends in the chat and people listening to the show for enduring these annoying technical issues. This show has been plagued a little bit by technical issues since the beginning, but that's us. You know, we will not give up. We will not give up on you. So we got to get that cultural content out there for our people.
Exactly.
Nothing's going to stop us. So there you go. But it's really pretty phenomenal if you think how far this has come in history, even to now. You know, but I think the problem though is people not knowing the origins, not sort of recognizing the value and importance of Norse mythology in just our our common lives, our common culture. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think doing a show like this highlights that. It kind of reminds people of those things. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, we haven't been doing too much sort of Norse stuff, so it's nice to do something that pays tribute to that. I always like to add a sort of serpentine elements to dragons.
Yeah, I have a kind of a funny take on dragons because, you know, I lived in Asia for 5 years and just my whole sort of background in Kung Fu and all that stuff, that dragons are positive images in the East. You know, they represent strength, fortitude, intelligence, enlightenment, all kinds of things that, you know, total opposite. They're evil in Western mythology and literature. So it's, for me, I guess, a little bit of a conflict, I guess, with the messaging of that.
Right. Interesting.
So like in this mythology, Siegfried, as I'll call him, the English name, he at some point tastes some of the blood of the dragon as he's cooking its heart, and it gives him magical powers to hear what birds can say, that he now understands the language of birds. Charming, you know, part of the story there, but it does seem to indicate that there is some kind of mystical, the dragons give us some sort of mystical connection to nature and maybe our own nature, you know what I'm saying? So I think there's something to contemplate there, you know?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to comment on that. I know, yeah, it's different cultures, but for me, myself, it's more serpentine. And,
I think what I'm going to do at some point with this piece is get some, so for example, I've got this kind of whiteout, it's, I don't know if you would call it ink, I think it's more of like a paint, but I'm going to go in there and touch it up, put on some highlights, but with a brush. This tool right here is actually really awesome because it gives you that pencil line. I can do a lot of rendering, and with rendering, I can describe the form of things. The way that you kind of scratch around with those rendering lines describes the curve of where the bone is, or the curve of the metal helmet, or the curve of the nose of our little funny hat man up here in the corner. So to me, composition is everything too. Sort of putting it all together in the story. So, the flow of the eye. Of course, you've got that kind of S curve here. The sword in the chest helps to kind of even out this arm, and this moving in this direction. It's sort of a V form, if you can see that. Obviously, his eyes looking at that's a key element. It's like of the narrative of this story. This curve, the arc of the gold here, it kind of brings the eye back up, and then your eyes, you're gonna obviously see this little bad guy, but then the ear and the direction of the snout on the dragon kind of leads you back into here, which then snakes you down to
guiding path,
the bottom, and then the blood leads you back up to here, and so the whole composition, none of this is haphazard. All of this is intentional, and it's meant to make you linger and wander and dream inside of this world. Come into this world, surrender yourself to the myth of it, be there, and so there's a kind of magic to composition. It can't just be sort of a flat rubber stamp thing. Now, on a scale this small, I don't have, it's mostly in the foreground, kind of. I could, maybe in the deep background, I could put something. I do have like a dead space up here. I'm not into the idea of like filling up every single part of every inch of the page has to be filled with garbage. You want to give it some breath, and let me take a minute also to say hello to all my friends in the chat here. We've got Western Kind United is here. I hope my corrupted robot voice is not on right now. I truly am not made of AI. I'm a real human being. Hippocratic Oath, one of my good buds. These guys come to my evening shows, my comic shows. Mac is back. Always a pleasure, my man. Who else we got here? Didymus. This is the crew here. Like, these are. I'm going to start a band with these guys. But let me also say hi to Sam. I don't know if Sam is new, but I'm always happy to have new folks, popping in and joining on what we do. This is a Tuesday show, so every Tuesday around this time, we do a show, and there you go.
Right, Patriotic Art live.
Yes, Patriotic Art live. Now, I think this was your idea to do this show, right? I mean, I kind of I'm a little fuzzy on it.
I think we both agreed to do something together. And I think this was just a natural course of action.
There you go. Yeah. That's it. I have a very selective memory. Maybe I'm getting old or something. I don't know. But another aspect of this piece here is using the toned paper. When you kind of work on, like if you just work on white paper, it's fine, but it's the whole paper in a sense it represents light, and then you just have to add shadows and shadows and shadows and shadows, and you build up from that end. Whereas here you've got a middle tone, and then you work out from the center. So, you have, again, this kind of middle tone, and then you add light and shadow. And together, it comes together nicely. I feel like working from middle tone paper like this, somehow or other, it just has more depth or something. That there's something kind of more.
I think when you start with I think maybe you start with a sort of a grey middle tone. It's easier for the sort of the shadows and the highlights to pop. Normally,
Yeah.
when you work on white, you have to kind of put grey throughout, don't you?
Yeah.
To get that pop.
It's very heavy in that regard. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back over it. Yeah, I'm not sure which one to finalize. What's your thoughts? If I get
Let me
your
zoom
thoughts
in.
on
I'm going to
mine.
zoom in. Yeah, give me a second here. I have to change the layout to see your work in more detail. So let's have a look, guys. What are you guys in the chat? This is quite something here. You've got these different options. It's even more work, basically.
Yeah, well, they are
Yeah, I
rough
think
and
it's.
sketchy, but I will take one to a finish. Just
I
a
have to
little
say
bit more.
that one right there really speaks to me. But could you scroll over a little? And I want to take a second look at the other ones.
So that was the first one I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was the third one.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like the
Well,
story of
the
that, the
top
story moment.
the top two are really speaking to me. I think the version of like that kind of image there, where you have got your little fella in the foreground, the man versus dragon is like just ridiculously epic. It's very common, but I think the other composition's a bit more engaging.
This
The
top
one
one.
right there, maybe that one I think is for me the most intense, because it's just so bold, and it's just a good composition. I like the way the wings kind of frame
Fair
the
out.
center.
Okay.
There's something violent about it that I think is very stimulating.
Okay.
You know.
So
You know.
you're not feeling
I
this
mean,
one
we
at
have to be
all?
bold and heroic, right?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
theme here, guy.
Well, how about how are you? You not feeling this one at all? Is it? I guess it's
um.
because it's not got the dragon. So
Well, I mean, I like it as a portrait. I mean, I really feel like the dragon's got it. We got to have
got
the
to be in
dragon
there.
in the
Yeah,
image.
yeah.
Yeah, it
I
just
understand.
seems essential. It's like central to the theme. Um, you know,
Being one of the
like
top
I
two
think I
then.
mentioned earlier, I did some research on this story, and I listened to the whole story. And there's a lot more to it than just killing the dragon.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. So like, there's so many things that could be illustrated in the
Well,
story.
on that note, let's continue with the story. So I
Okay.
think we've talked about video games and pop culture. So we discussed the beginning of the story, and then sort of towards the middle, we've got armed with magical sword reforged from his father's shattered blade. Sigurd embarks on his quest to confront Fafnir. With cunning and bravery, he slays the dragon, taking the cursed hoard for himself. However, the victory is bittersweet as Regan's true intentions are revealed. He desires the treasure for himself and plans to kill Sigurd. Forewarned by the wisdom he gained from tasting Fafnir's heart,
Yeah.
Sigurd slays Regan, thereby avoiding betrayal. Yet the treasure brings no peace, weaving a web of greed, envy, and deception around Sigurd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That element right there is really what grabs me. Like, that's what kind of gives me the shudders. This whole thing about how the treasure brings no peace. That somehow, I don't know, something about the way man kills for money, and how money dictates power. And it's just this age old issue in humanity. And how how many wars and how many conflicts, how many families have been broken apart because of money in these things. And this is
Yeah.
I find that very troublesome. I find that theme, that even back in ancient times, was still a problem.
Well, I
So
think
concerning.
war was. I mean, when you look back at our history, war has always seems to have been
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of quite prominent. It was my PC slowing. Yeah, it always seemed to have something about it. Um, uh,
It's kind of part of the human condition, I suppose. You
yeah,
know.
exactly.
Oh, I think I'll scoot out of your image and get back to double screen.
Yeah, so we're on about an hour 15. We've got about what? No.
Oh, Hippocratic Oath says, just in time for Year of the Dragon. How funny. That's a good point. I wonder if I can pop that on here, if I can show that there. There you go. Yeah, you guys have any comments or questions? It's always fun to interact. Welcome to Woodlander. It's great to see you. Seven Serpents is back. Awesome. He says a bird snuck in the somewhere would be nice. Language of the birds. Oh yeah, that's actually, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I should have some, like, some birds in a tree, because I was thinking of putting in these like gnarly looking trees in the background, or that maybe he was kind of hiding behind a gnarly tree of some kind. And that I think is genius, the idea of like having just in the background some kind of birds, maybe in flight, because I don't want to overdo it with this piece. I know that I'm going to go in and, maybe do like the coins or what have you. It's sort of a balance between how detailed or not I'm going to go. But that's a genius idea, Seven Serpents.
Yeah, that would be. It'd add some depth as well, wouldn't it?
I was, my very first concept for this piece today was actually more almost like a crest for like a shield, something that is, it's kind of like just a almost a graphic design where all of the key elements, like the heart, the dragon, the sword, because the whole story of the sword is a big part of this mythology as well. It was Odin took it out of a tree or something of this nature in the story, and it's they say it's kind of the basis for the King Arthur sword from the stone myth. So it's just this myth is kind of like the mother of myths, so to speak.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I mean, even when I was reading the last bit, you could see the Hobbit in there, couldn't you? The Lord of the Rings. Sorry, how that that was clearly influenced by something like this, with the treasure and betrayal and coveting the gold.
Yeah. I see you're using like a gray background there. That looks real good.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a night scene, sort of a nightish scene. I might put a moon in the back somewhere.
Yeah.
And
dramatic lighting.
yeah.
Essentially, yeah. I'm feeling that too. That's kind of why I'm putting in these heavy shadows. The thing about shadows, especially with ink, is that you can't take them out. You can kind of, I mean, there's always a way, I suppose. But I just have to be kind of selective about, how where I'm putting shadows, what kind of shadows, how dark are they, etc. It's important to try to get a good range of shadow as well, and shadow and light really create depth. That's kind of where the illusion of depth comes from, creating space, I should say. So I was talking about, I think it's called The Hobbit. I think the film I was talking about is The Hobbit.
Yeah, but that's the prequel, isn't it? To
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, actually. I used to read a lot more than I do now. Like, I just don't seem to have time to read. And I've just bought a couple books recently too.
Have you?
But so I will be reading. But
awesome. I'll try and get some.
Seems harder to do, harder to find time.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I like to read certain things, but I find I don't have that much patience to read. I tend to read things I want to know information on. When it comes to
Yeah.
creating or writing it,
Oh, yeah.
reading someone else's story,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't seem to have the patience for it as much.
I hear that. The other thing too is there's audiobooks, there's YouTube shows. You can even like download a book and then have your you know have like a book reader read it for you, because I'm
Yeah,
usually at
true.
my desk. I'm working on stuff. And I can't hold a book in my hand. I've got to do my work. So that's been my replacement for reading, if you will. But yeah, it's just pretty astonishing how powerful this myth is.
Yeah, and even more, we didn't really know much about it until studying today.
Right. Yeah. What were the other options in the poll for today's show?
I put the when Britannia ruled the waves. That was one. That was one again. I added the Trojan horse. I added ancient runes of glory, which almost came in. I was second. Thought that was a good one. I wanted to get a couple of Norse ones in today, and I put in the Council of Nicaea as well, which is.
I have a question for you, as an English person. What do you feel is your connection with the Norse peoples?
Well, I mean, they did contribute to a lot of the genetic makeup of Britain. The Norse, so Scandinavian, the Danish especially. So I mean, I don't feel super connected to that as much as the other cultures. I think that's generally because
who do you feel more connected to, like the Germanic tribes, or I don't know. Do you have any Celt in you?
Well, I think from my granddad's side, there's a mix of English, Irish. I know my name has Cornish roots, and that's kind of as Celtic as I might get.
Interesting.
But yeah, Norse. I mean, yeah, I mean, I do, but I think it's mostly sort of the Irish and the Scots, which tend to really embody the more Celtic heritage.
Yeah.
Although
the Welsh.
I don't think we understand how much the sort of the Danes influenced the the UK and England. They really changed the genetic makeup, a lot of it. I mean, there's the Saxons and stuff. Well, the Saxons were Danish, but the native Britons is what most people tend to kind of gravitate to. I think that's probably because of the name. Our names as British, so we assume that Britons were the well, they were the kind of the initial inhabitants, I think. Well, the Picts were here for a while as well, to be honest.
Yeah, that's wild. No,
they were Celtic, yeah.
I think of the Picts as like very, very wild, like very feral kind of people,
Yeah, they were, I think, very tribal.
The history's so long, there's so much to know. It's hard to know everything, wrap your head around all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bit of Ukrainian blood in me as well.
Okay, wow.
So
Yeah, I'm excited to, come to Britain someday, and just kind of like explore and kind of cruise around, meet some people, and kind of get
Yeah.
a sense of my, where my ancestors are from. And but then also really to meet and talk to people. And I don't know, I just have this really, really strong need to kind of find myself ethnically, between Scotland, Ireland, England, and France.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of a burning
Go for it then.
desire I have. I've had for
Can you
really most
work
of my life.
remotely?
But say again?
Can you work?
Can I work remotely?
Yeah,
Is
like
that what you
draw
said?
as you go and things like that.
The goal, of course, is to
Be
be
full
a
time.
professional artist, and that I would love that if I could do that. Maybe someday that the fates, the Norns, will allow me to do that. So we got a couple comments here on these topics. The Woodlander's asking if we or you prefer fiction or nonfiction. This is a good question. Do you want to take that? Yeah.
It's tough. I've never thought about it, to be honest. It's a very good question.
Funny, yeah. I haven't either, really.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go? I'm still thinking.
All right. Yeah, it's like I'm drawing right now. Don't bother me.
No, I'm literally thinking about how
to answer that. So, like for me, nonfiction, I consume a ton of nonfiction, but that's things like learning how to meditate, metaphysics, history, culture, politics. Like that's to me my nonfiction. I don't, that's that. It serves a purpose in terms of like I'm trying to enrich myself regarding, just understanding the world and my place in it and all that kind of stuff. But I would say that in my heart is probably really more into fiction. I feel that I don't know, the world itself is too, it's like I want to kind of be in a world where things are not fixed. It's like, that logic dictates this, or history tells us that, or something. I want to, be able to fly and, speak with ghosts and, chase dragons and, all of these kinds of things. I feel that is more of a world that I inhabit, I guess, in terms of my dreams or my artistic goals. And it's a world of mythology. I often talk about artists are in many ways shaman, that we have a type of, we channel the world of imagination, which is in a sense a world of mythology. And this has an important role in society, that the average person can't do what we do. And we've been talking throughout the show how mythology, it's how important it is, and how it's throughout all the ages, this kind of the symbolism of man killing dragon or something is it's deeply ingrained in the kind of spiritual biospirit of Western man. That's the level on which I live and think and feel. In myth, it's mythopoetic. It's what they call that. So I don't know if that's answering your question really, but it sounded cool.
Yeah, it's hard to know, because obviously I like to be entertained. I think when it comes to writing, I like fiction, but in terms of when it comes to reading, I definitely read non-fiction more. Like I say, I don't tend to read other people's fiction. I'll watch other people's fiction films maybe, and I don't really read much. But yeah, so in terms of output, I would say fiction for sure. But in terms of learning, I tend to prefer real life. So maybe it's the case that real life events and things I learn from that influence the sort of creative side.
So the Woodlander says Anglos, Saxons, Celts, different branches of the same tree. Even the Normans were Norse. There you are. I think we all, and then he goes on to say we all need storytellers. So to me, this is storytelling. It's just visual storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, there were many Danes. The Angles, the Jutes. The Anglo-Saxons were probably the more infamous. They were ruthless. They were at times quite what's the word? They didn't play fair many times. They the story, The Night of the Long Knives.
The Night of the Long Knives.
Yeah. Well, it was a story which was also it's a title that was given to something that happened during the what's it called, Nazi Germany regime.
Like Crystal Nacht, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, something like that. Night of the Long Knives. It was about some form of treachery that happened or took place. But the original story of that was to do with back in the Anglo-Saxon times, where the Saxons basically slayed a host of the priests, and there was certain law where you weren't allowed to attack a priest or a man that was unarmed. It was regarded as sort of cowardly and lacking honor. Yeah. And the Night of the Long Knives was a time where they thought they was doing a truce or something, and they were essentially just backstabbed. I think that's where it comes from, backstabbed.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did it a number of times throughout the history with trying to get on with the Danes. But it was Alfred the Great which really helped to finally amalgamate the Angles and the Saxons to become a unified people, where there was really no distinction between them anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I could work on this for hours, to be honest. I think it's grayscale at the moment. I'm going to put a bit of a gradient layer over the top of it. I'll probably, yeah, let's see.
This is coming together nicely.
Yeah, yours is, I love your composition. It's more like a movie poster, isn't it? Mine's more like a keyframe from a film, and yours is more of a poster illustration. So I'm just going to get back to the end of the story. So Sigurd's tale reaches its tragic conclusion as the curse of the dragon's hordes unfolds. He becomes entangled in the complex politics and familial betrayals of the Burgundian court, marrying Gudrun, but unwittingly becoming part of a love triangle with the warrior maiden Brynhild, whom he had once promised to marry under a forgotten guise. The ensuing jealousy and the machinations led to Sigurd's murder, orchestrated by those he trusts. His death marks the end of a hero whose life was as marked by valor and honor as it was by tragedy and betrayal, leaving a legacy that would immortalize him in legend and song. Oh. Yeah. Very interesting story. Quite melancholy, but definitely you can see the threads of that in many other films and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. Last night I came across a movie. I don't know. I think it's a Michael Palin movie. It's called Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
Heard of it?
No.
It's kind of goofy. It's not really Monty Python. And it's a little on the low end of like the budget. Like,
Okay.
they didn't have like a lot of money to make the film.
Uh-huh.
I love Michael Palin. I adore him. It's just one of my favorite human beings.
Who? Michael Palin?
Yeah, from Monty Python.
Oh, him, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay.
But anyway, that's just another one of those dragon stories.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the unwitting bard who naively stumbles into misadventures and that kind of stuff. Which he kind of plays those parts pretty well. Like, he's always sort of an innocent guy who somehow or other, like, he's very likable. A lot of the roles that he plays, and kind of rooting for him.
Yeah. Yeah, Monty Python was quite big in the UK. A little bit before my time, but...
Oh, really?
That was no insult.
I mean, I found...
Yeah, I was just a little bit too young, although it was played as I was growing up. I just... You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if his wings are too small, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, I'll probably do another hour on this later in the week. Put a colour gradient over the top or something, and so I'll read a few more points. So we've got 5 points on things that we can learn from Sigurd the Dragon Slayer story. So the first one is the complexity of heroism. Sigurd's story teaches us that heroism is not just about strength and courage in battle, but also involves wisdom, integrity, and the capacity to navigate complex moral landscapes. His journey underscores that true heroism encompasses personal growth, the pursuit of noble goals, and the resilience to overcome betrayal and adversity. It's a good one.
Yeah, I think my audio is not so good. Can you guys? I'm hearing in the chat that it's not that great. Mac says Picts are descendants of Atlantis and Doggerland. I don't think I've ever heard of Doggerland. Really?
Oh, I've heard of Doggerland. It was the land between that connected Europe and the British Isles. So yeah, apparently it was connected some long time ago, and yeah, I mean Atlantis is well, it's kind of seen as myth now, but I think who was it that mentioned it? Aristotle, I think, mentions it in some of his writings.
It's occurring to me that it would be interesting to do a comic book in this style, where I have, this kind of gray tone paper, and I do the whole thing in these tones of light and dark.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. It must take a while though to to do a lot of those. It would take a while, wouldn't it? This out. Yeah. I'll take a little bit of a rest from this one, I think. I'll add a quick touch of colour to this. Try a different brush. Still experimenting with a lot of these brushes.
Well, it's going on almost 2 hours here with this.
Oh, is it really? Yeah, 101 hour 43 here.
Time flies.
I just read a few more of the morals of the story. So we've got the consequences of greed. A central theme in Sigurd's saga is the destructive power of greed. The curse of the treasure that Sigurd acquires after slaying Fafnir serves as a potent reminder of how greed can lead to the downfall and misery, not just for the one who harbours it, but also for those around him. The importance of fate and free will. Sigurd's legend explores the tension between fate and free will. Despite the foreknowledge of his doomed fate, Sigurd exercises his free will to pursue his destiny. This interplay invites reflection on how our choices define us, even in the face of seemingly predetermined outcomes. There's two more, if you want to read them, but they are quite interesting.
Yes, yeah. It's super crunchy on my end with audio. I don't know if you guys are hearing me okay.
Oh, this is a nice brush.
I'm going to turn up my... Hold on, let me check something. Audio, I don't know. Oh, okay. Sounds like it's okay.
Yeah. It's a bit better now.
All right, so I'll read. I don't know where you left off though, because I couldn't.
The last two, I think, are.
Okay. All right, you're coming through better now. In the 5 things area?
Yes, the last 5. Yeah.
Okay, so last 2, the value of mentorship and betrayal. Sigurd's relationship with his mentor Regin and others who betray him highlight the importance of choosing one's associates wisely. His story teaches that while mentorship and alliances can be invaluable for personal development and achieving one's goals, Betrayal is a harsh reality that one might face, emphasizing the need for discernment and caution and trust. So that's what I was saying at the beginning of this show, is that this, excuse me, this myth has many layers to it, and there's a lot. It's just very rich. There's a lot in there. So this is just one of the lessons or parables that we're taking from it. So lastly, transformation and legacy. The saga of Sigurd and the dragons, Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, illustrates how individuals can transcend their beginnings to leave a lasting impact. Sigurd's transformation from a young warrior to a legendary hero demonstrates that one's legacy is defined by action and choices. His enduring story inspires us to think about how we can make meaningful contributions to our world, leaving a legacy that influences future generations. That is lovely. This is, minus the audio garbage, I think this is a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, I was excited to do it as well, and it's turned out good. We'll try and get to the bottom of the audio and figure out, how to improve it next time.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have to choose among my markers what tones I'm looking for. There's a lighter tone. So I wonder if stories like Dune are influenced by this. For example, I'm going to see Dune on Friday, taking my son.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I got another buddy. He's actually closer to my son's age. He's a film student.
Right.
And we saw, the three of us saw the first Dune together.
Okay.
So I thought it would be neat, if we went and saw the second one together as well.
Yeah.
I love the director. I'm not, there's a lot of people in our sphere that criticize the casting. It's kind of, always getting these sort of ugly globalist type characters to, that are aesthetically not pleasing in some ways to play these heroic roles or whatever. But
yeah, I think I saw Dune, downloaded it. Has it got that actor in who's quite popular now? I forget his name, but yeah, I did see the first one. I mean, it was impressive for what it was, but you do see the typical stereotypes of of the evil
yeah. I feel like in today's world, there's just so much that you're gonna have to ignore if you want to even see a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to kind of you have to have a tolerance threshold. Of okay, I can watch so much of this, but if it gets too global homo or whatever, then no.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to have a kind of a radar or a second sense to tell you, okay, is this movie going to be just essentially a giant insult? Is it going to creep me out? What's going on here? And you can tell a lot by the casting, of course, by the story, but
yeah. I know you're not a massive fan of this one, but I quite like this, to be honest. The one.
Well, I can't hear any music. I know you're playing music, but I don't hear anything.
No, not the music. The this keyframe that I've done. I just like the.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said that I thought the other ones were more engaging. I really enjoyed your portrait of Alexander the Great.
Cheers.
So I could see it would be nice to see you do more portraits.
Yeah. Well, just trying to practice art. Really, I just that's what I enjoy about these shows. Just it's an opportunity to do a bit more art, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Sure.
I'm trying to stay away as well from AI. It was kind of getting too easy, and it was sapping the joy of creating, to be honest.
I think there's a lot to say for the community building. Our guys in the chat they appreciate us, what we do. And
thank you, guys.
And then leaving a sort of I don't know if legacy is maybe a little too melodramatic, but putting work out there that people can reference, that people can go to and discover, that is about us. It's for our cause and our culture, etc. I've really grown to love these Copic markers. They're a bit expensive, like $7 for one marker. $7 for one marker, but
they did the job.
They give me so much power in terms of like the power, expressive power, I should say. So it's quite nice.
Cool. Yeah, sometimes you have to compromise on not compromise, but just invest and buy the better quality stuff to.
Right. That's kind of a whole other thing. Is just that people don't understand the cost of the materials and stuff. Someone was asking me about my comics and why I was not using traditional comic book paper. It's called Bristol board. It's thicker. It absorbs the ink better. And I'm like, I can buy 1,000 or 500 sheets of this particular paper for $20. So like, other, and Bristol board is $1 a sheet at its cheapest. So I'm not spending $500 on Bristol board. You see.
Yeah.
So that's how it works, folks.
Wanted to.
Hippocratic Oath says, I never read the John Carter story. Is it subversive? John Carter from Mars? Is this the one? I don't know any other John Carter. And I would say no. I mean, that's who's the author? H.P. Lovecraft? No, not Lovecraft. John Carter from Mars.
Don't know.
Is it Robert E. Howard? I think it's Robert E. Howard. Yeah. Where's Dave Martell when you need him?
Do you know what's his name? Is it Mike from Imperium Press? Do you know him at all?
I actually had him on my show years ago.
Because I know he was doing a podcast with Dave Martell, wasn't he? He's got the coolest voice, by the way, Dave Martell. He's like,
oh god, he's a character. I love him. I love him.
Not in a bad way, I mean, he's got a very distinct voice. I mean, he could easily do. Oh, he does do radio, doesn't he? But
it's not even just his voice. It's like the way that he talks and the way that he thinks and all of it. It's very
yeah.
He's very masculine. He's very masculine. So. But yeah, so I see. It's funny because what I'm doing here, I think would go really well in Dave's publishing world. I illustrated the Bizarre Archives 2, which I assume some of the people in the audience probably have a copy.
I may have seen that myself, I think.
Yeah, like a lot of his writers are fans of mine, follow my content. So let's check this out.
Yes, interesting.
Dune. I'm sorry. Mac says Dune is actually subversive to the John Carter trope. I don't know how that is, so I'm not sure. Hippocratic Oath says I never read the da-da-da. We just read that. Woodlander says great stream, gents, as always, but I've got to go. Shut the chickens away. Right. Off you go. I'm always afraid that you guys will get angry when I do an English accent. Should I stop?
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
It's not too bad.
Am
I embarrassing myself?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Okay, good.
Not at all. Not at all.
it just like suits me so well. I feel like I'm getting back to my culture. I'm faking it though. It's like I'm a fake Englishman.
So we are.
I think that would
2
be
hours now. Wow.
Oh, I know. But that's kind of one of my goals is to like go to England and be in a pub and then like speak with an English accent and see how long I can get away with it.
Yeah, that's the true test. That's the litmus test of how British you are, isn't it?
Then once they find out I'm American, they'll kick me out, though. I should hope not.
Right, I think I'm all penned out for today.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 hours is plenty. So,
yeah.
But we really had a great show and great audience, great questions.
Yeah.
I loved all the content that we were reading about this story and how it impacts and reflects our culture, our myths, etc. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Follow us on Tuesdays. It's 1 p.m. Eastern time in America. What time is it?
6 p.m. GMT UK time. So
okay, awesome.
Yeah, tune in next week and also stop by to the Patriotic Arts community. It's Patriotic Arts and the chat room is Patriotic Arts Community. So you can check us out there on Telegram. And thanks for tuning in and see you next week. Big shout out to Repair Shop and Billy Green as well. So, all right, guys. Take care. God bless.
Very good. All right, gang. Love you all. Have a good evening, and we'll see you